On a more serious note, here's what Donald Trump has been posting recently on his Truth Social account just within the last few hours. Quote, a president of the United States must have full immunity, without which it would be impossible for him or her to properly function. Any mistake, he writes, even if well-intended, would be met with almost certain indictment by the opposing party at term end. Even events that cross the line must fall under total immunity, he writes, or it will be years of trauma trying to determine good from bad. There must be certainty. This, of course, as a federal appeals court weighs whether Trump is immune from criminal charges related to the January 6th insurrection. At the hearing, his lawyers have suggested presidents could assassinate political rivals or SEAL Team 6 to take someone out without being charged. So, Jonathan Lemire, I think the cross the line, we don't usually read large swaths of his Truth Social post, but it's important for the public to hear the argument he's making, which is I and all presidents should have immunity to do whatever they want to do, no matter how awful, no matter how badly it crosses the line.
Yeah, we can joke a little bit about what he just said on the rally stage in New Hampshire last night. This is deadly serious, and this is extremely important. This is, first of all, him trying to justify, reverse engineer a not guilty from the trials that he's facing, but also potentially trying to give himself license to break whatever law he wants in a possible second term, to the point where it could even go to assassination. And Caddy, I mean, this is, we always say, when Donald Trump tells us who he is or what he's going to do, we should believe him. This, on one hand, does feel like a bit of a confession, acknowledging that he broke the law while was president previously, but it also is a real warning as to what he might want to do if he's elected again.
Yeah, I think that's right. It's also, though, an interesting indication of how a second Trump administration might use the Justice Department. I mean, I've heard in my reporting with members of the Trump administration that they have this plan to try to make sure that he is totally blanketly covered by immunity. We know that's what he wants to do for whatever he may or may not be planning to do in a second term. But also that they want to fold the DOJ sort of into the White House's purview in order to make sure that the scales are tipped in their favor. And when you say to the Trump administration, well, what does this set up for the future of America and for the future of democracy? Because the question about what that Truth Social post says is, well, then does that mean that any president is also then going to seek retribution against his predecessor? I mean, we're just getting into a cycle here, or we risk getting into a cycle where every single president claims that they have totally blanket immunity, and every single president then tries to prosecute their predecessor for whatever it is that they want to do. I mean, the system doesn't really work like that, I don't think. I mean, I just think, and even the people in the Trump administration kind of acknowledge that folding the Justice Department into the White House in order to be able to seek retribution for Donald Trump against his enemies would just mean that Democrats would do the same thing the next time they were elected. It's definitely a departure from what America has had up until now.